Did you know that your everyday morning routine, the very habits you've followed for decades, might be quietly setting you up for a stroke? Most older adults in America never suspect it. They assume strokes strike suddenly, out of nowhere like lightning. But after decades studying the aging brain, I can tell you the earliest warnings don't start in a hospital room. They start in your bedroom, your kitchen, your bathroom, right in the first hour after you wake up. Because after age 60, your brain enters the morning in its most fragile state. Your blood is thicker, your pressure is rising, your vessels are stiffer, and certain habits, common, seemingly harmless habits, can triple your stroke risk before you even pour your first cup of coffee. In this video, I'll reveal the 7 hidden morning triggers most seniors never recognize until it's too late, and the simple, gentle changes that could protect your brain for years to come. Before we dive into these critical insights, if you haven't joined the Senior Medical Hub family yet, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss another health tip made just for you. The hidden dangers of the first hour. If you're still watching and finding these insights helpful, please type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 to let me know how I can make better content for you. Tell me in the comments where you are watching this video, and if you have any questions in your mind, then comment them too. 1. Drinking coffee immediately after waking up. When I speak with my older patients here in the United States, I often begin with a seemingly harmless question. What is the first thing you put into your body each morning? Most smile and answer proudly, "Doctor, my coffee. I've done it for 40 years." But after decades as a brain physician, I can tell you this familiar American morning ritual is one of the most underestimated triggers of early morning strokes in adults over 60. During the night, your body enters a long, unbroken stretch without fluid, usually 6 to 8 hours. As we age, the body loses its ability to retain moisture efficiently, and older adults naturally wake up in a state of mild dehydration. In medical terms, nighttime dehydration increases blood viscosity, meaning your blood becomes thicker, slower, and heavier. Thick blood forces the heart to pump harder and reduces the smooth, steady flow your brain depends on every second. Now imagine what happens when this already thick blood meets your morning cup of coffee. Dehydration worsens. Caffeine, especially on an empty stomach, pulls even more water from your system. It acts as a diuretic, worsening the dehydration you already woke up with. Pressure spikes. At the same time, caffeine stimulates the sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight response, creating a sudden surge in heart rate and blood pressure just minutes after you open your eyes. For a healthy 30-year-old, that surge may not cause much trouble, but for someone over 60, whose arteries are stiffer, whose blood vessels are narrower, and whose brain is already vulnerable, this combination is extremely dangerous. It triggers strokes. Early morning blood pressure naturally rises. Add dehydration plus caffeine, and you produce a sudden spike capable of overwhelming delicate vessels in the brain. It forms blood clots. Thick, concentrated blood is far more likely to clot. When caffeine further constricts the blood vessels, the narrowing increases the chance that a clot will get stuck, causing an ischemic stroke. I still remember an 82-year-old patient of mine from Arizona. He walked a mile every day, but he began experiencing brief episodes of hand clumsiness and trouble recalling simple words at breakfast. His scans later showed he'd had small, silent TIAs, tiny strokes, occurring shortly after waking. His only consistent habit? He drank strong black coffee every morning before drinking a single sip of water. When we reversed that routine, water first, coffee 20 to 30 minutes later, those episodes stopped completely. This isn't about giving up coffee. It's about timing. Your brain does not want stimulation the moment you wake. It wants circulation, hydration, and safety. 2. Sitting too long on the edge of the bed without moving. Among my older patients here in the United States, this is a habit they almost never think about. They wake up, push themselves upright, sit on the edge of the bed, and stay there, sometimes for 5 minutes, sometimes for 20, waiting for their body to warm up. It feels harmless. It feels gentle, but medically, for adults over 60, this quiet stillness is far from harmless. In fact, it is one of the most subtle early morning conditions that silently forms blood clots before you even take your first steps of the day. Here is why. When you sleep, blood flow slows and pools naturally in the lower part of the body. This is normal, but as we age, the veins in our legs lose elasticity, the valves weaken, and circulation becomes sluggish. So when an older adult wakes up and sits without moving, the blood that pooled during the night continues to stagnate in the legs instead of rising back toward the heart and brain. Your heart is trying to restore circulation after hours of lying down, but your stillness prevents that upward flow. The danger inside your body. It triggers strokes. When blood remains trapped in the legs and fails to reach the brain efficiently, your blood pressure can spike as the heart tries to compensate. This sharp rise in pressure can rupture fragile vessels in the brain. It forms blood clots. Thick, stagnant morning blood is a breeding ground for clot formation. If a clot forms in the deep veins of the legs, a single stretch or sudden movement can dislodge it and send it upward. When that clot travels to the brain, it can instantly cause a devastating stroke. I once treated a 79-year-old man from Ohio who believed he was having balance issues every morning. He described a strange fog and a moment of drifting vision whenever he rose from the bed. His routine? He sat on the edge of the bed for 25 minutes every morning, checking the news on his phone. His scans later revealed microclots in the small vessels of the brain, tiny, silent injuries caused by poor circulation during the morning transition. When he shortened his sitting time and added gentle ankle rolls and shoulder movements before standing, those symptoms disappeared completely. A few seconds of gentle motion, flexing the toes, rotating the ankles, rolling the shoulders, can be the difference between healthy morning flow and a dangerous stagnation that places the brain at risk. 3. Rushing to the bathroom the moment you stand up. Among my older patients across the United States, this is one of the most common and most misunderstood morning habits. Many seniors wake up with urgency, and the very first thing they do is stand up quickly and rush straight to the bathroom. It feels natural, it feels necessary, but for adults over 60, this simple action creates one of the most dangerous physiological shifts of the entire day. Here is why. When you suddenly move from lying down to standing, your body must instantly compensate to maintain blood flow to the brain. In older adults, the cardiovascular reflexes are weaker and the heart takes longer to stabilize. This creates a moment of orthostatic stress, a sudden drop in blood pressure as gravity pulls blood toward the legs. When this moment of vulnerability is combined with the bathroom rush, the risks escalate sharply. To urinate, especially after holding urine overnight, your body often engages in internal straining. This action strains the cardiovascular system and forces your heart and blood vessels to fight against increased internal pressure. The danger inside your body. It triggers strokes. The sudden rise and fall of pressure caused by rapid standing and straining can rupture fragile vessels or destabilize blood flow in areas already affected by plaque. Many early morning strokes occur in or near the bathroom where these rapid shifts take place. It places enormous stress on the heart. The heart muscle may not respond quickly enough to sudden pressure changes. That lag can deprive the brain of oxygen at precisely the moment it needs stability. I remember a 76-year-old woman from Michigan who came to my clinic after experiencing 2 frightening episodes, brief blackouts each morning right after getting to the bathroom. She thought they were just age catching up. Her blood pressure readings showed sharp drops followed by sudden spikes. She later learned she had suffered 2 tiny TIAs, silent mini-strokes, likely triggered by those abrupt morning transitions. Slow down. Pause before rising. Give your body a chance to find balance before you step away from the bed. 4. Skipping breakfast or taking morning medications on an empty stomach. For people over 60, starting the day without food is one of the most dangerous early morning stressors you can place on the brain. Not eating in the morning doesn't just make you feel weak, It changes your physiology in ways that can trigger strokes and quietly form blood clots long before lunchtime ever arrives. Here's what happens. When you wake up, your brain expects replenishment, but the liver becomes less efficient at releasing stored glucose as we age. This means older adults are far more vulnerable to morning hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, enough to restrict the brain's access to fuel. When the brain senses a shortage of fuel, several dangerous things begin to unfold. Your blood pressure rises sharply. The body senses low blood sugar as a threat and releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline to force glucose out. This hormonal surge tightens blood vessels, which can raise blood pressure to unsafe levels. Your blood becomes more prone to clotting. Low glucose alters platelet activity and thickens blood consistency. This creates the perfect environment for clot formation, linking skipping breakfast to a higher risk of ischemic stroke in seniors. Medications become more dangerous. Many Americans take blood pressure pills or anticoagulants in the morning. Without food, these drugs can hit the bloodstream too quickly, creating sudden drops in pressure or sharp fluctuations that destabilize circulation. I once cared for a 72-year-old man from Florida who believed he was doing something healthy by skipping breakfast and drinking only black coffee. He began experiencing short waves of confusion and difficulty recalling words around 10 a.m. He was dropping too low each morning and taking his medications on an empty stomach. A scan later revealed he had suffered a small morning TIA. Once he added a small morning meal, just yogurt, a boiled egg, or a few walnuts, his symptoms disappeared completely. Breakfast for older adults is not about appetite. It is about stability and fuel for the brain. 5. Starting your day with stress. Checking the news, emails, or social media too soon. Of all the morning habits I see in older Americans, this one is quietly becoming the most destructive. For many seniors across the United States, the day begins the moment the phone lights up or the television turns on. News alerts, financial updates, political headlines. Your brain is flooded with stimulation before your feet even touch the floor. To you, it may feel like just checking in, but to your aging nervous system, this is a shock, a jolt, a sudden wave of psychological stress delivered at the most vulnerable moment of the entire day. The medical reality. The human body experiences a natural cortisol surge in the early morning hours to help you wake up. This peak is often higher and lasts longer in older adults. Now imagine adding emotional stress on top of that physiological stress. Your blood pressure is already rising. Your blood is thicker from nighttime dehydration. Your nervous system is still trying to stabilize. And suddenly you introduce fear, frustration, or emotional overload through a glowing screen. This combination creates a powerful spike in blood pressure, constriction of already stiff blood vessels, and an immediate drop in blood flow to critical areas of the brain. This is the exact kind of pressure surge that brain specialists like me dread. The danger inside your body. It triggers strokes. When emotional stress tightens blood vessels that are already constricted by morning cortisol, the sudden pressure increase can rupture a fragile artery or destabilize a plaque deposit. It forms blood clots. Stress makes blood stickier. Platelets activate, blood thickens. Add dehydration, high cortisol, and emotional shock, and you create an environment where clots form easily and can travel toward the brain. I treated a 72-year-old veteran from Texas who used to start every day watching the news. He admitted it got his blood boiling. Over several weeks, he experienced episodes of flashing lights and brief confusion, signs of transient ischemic attacks. His blood pressure log showed dramatic early morning surges. When he stopped turning on the news first thing and instead spent 10 minutes quietly breathing and walking, the episodes vanished. Your morning should not begin with stress. The aging brain needs a buffer, a transition zone before it faces the world's pressure. 6. Ignoring morning blood pressure checks, the silent danger. When I speak with older adults, I'm often told, "Doctor, I only check my blood pressure when something feels wrong." And every time I hear that, I feel a deep concern because the most dangerous blood pressure surge happens quietly, invisibly, and predictably every single morning, whether you feel it or not. The dawn phenomenon. During the early morning hours, the body experiences what we call the dawn phenomenon. Cortisol rises sharply and the cardiovascular system begins pushing blood harder and faster. In the older body where arteries are stiffer, this natural surge becomes risky. It is the single period of the day when blood pressure reaches its highest volatility, and it happens before breakfast, before medications, and before most seniors ever think to measure it. I once cared for a 72-year-old man from Florida who believed he was doing something healthy by skipping breakfast and drinking only black coffee. He began experiencing short waves of confusion and difficulty recalling words around 10 a.m. He was dropping too low each morning and taking his medications on an empty stomach. A scan later revealed he had suffered a small morning TIA. Once he added a small morning meal, just yogurt, a boiled egg, or a few walnuts, his symptoms disappeared completely. Breakfast for older adults is not about appetite. It is about stability and fuel for the brain. 7. Spending the first hour of the morning sitting still. The circulatory crisis. This final habit is perhaps the most deceptively dangerous. It doesn't look harmful. In fact, many seniors believe it is a good, comfortable way to start the day. But medically, spending the first hour of the morning sitting still is one of the most powerful and silent drivers of stroke risk. Here's what happens inside the older body. When you wake up, your blood is naturally thicker from nighttime dehydration. Movement is what helps the body adjust safely. But stillness, especially prolonged stillness, sitting for 30 to 60 minutes, traps the body in a state where poor circulation becomes dangerous circulation. Your calf muscles, the body's natural pump, remain inactive. Blood pools in the legs and sits stagnant, cooling, thickening, and slowing. Your brain is demanding oxygen, but the sluggish circulation struggles to deliver what it needs. This creates an internal traffic jam, a buildup of slow-moving blood below and an undersupplied brain above. The danger inside your body. It triggers strokes. When the legs trap blood, the heart compensates by increasing pressure. In seniors with stiff arteries, this rise in pressure can rupture fragile areas of the brain. It forms blood clots. Stagnant blood is clot-forming blood. The longer blood sits still, the easier it becomes for platelets to clump together. A clot formed in the legs during this quiet, motionless hour can break free the moment you finally stand up and cause an ischemic stroke in seconds. I cared for a 74-year-old retired engineer from Colorado who followed the same ritual. Wake up, sit quietly in his recliner with the newspaper for nearly an hour. He began experiencing sudden spells of blurred vision and tingling fingertips. His scans eventually revealed multiple tiny clots, silent microstrokes, likely formed during these long periods of morning stillness. When we changed his routine to include just 5 minutes of light movement, marching in place, arm circles, gentle stretching, his symptoms stopped completely. The older body does not need intensity, it needs flow. The truth behind these morning risks reveals a pattern every senior in America needs to understand. The brain is not harmed by one dramatic event. It is harmed slowly, quietly, through small daily habits that carry enormous weight as we age. The first hour after waking matters more than most people ever imagine. The 7 habits we have uncovered are real, measurable threats that slowly push the aging brain toward danger. Rushing your body when it needs stability. Starving your brain when it needs fuel. Flooding your system with stress when it needs calm. Allowing stillness to harden into stagnation when your blood needs movement. But there is hope. The same habits that harm you are the ones you can change. A glass of warm water before anything else. A minute of gentle motion before standing. A peaceful mind instead of a stressful headline. A bite of nourishment instead of an empty stomach. A blood pressure reading instead of a guess. These small adjustments are not minor. They are medicine. Your brain is asking for attention. Your future self is asking you to act now while you still have the power to change the path ahead. Because if your mornings can quietly increase your risk, imagine how powerfully they can protect you once you finally begin treating them with the respect your age, your brain, and your life deserve. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you've learned and plan to apply in your own life. Let's support each other on this journey towards embracing these truths. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Senior Medical Hub for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and here's to living life on your own terms.